What's up, Duval? It's your favorite Jaguar, Bucky Brooks, and this is Bleav in Jaguars, a podcast dedicated to all things Jacksonville Jaguars. And today we're going to break down the fallout of the Jaguars falling to the Philadelphia Eagles 28-23 in a game that was there for the taking for the Jaguars. The loss drops the Jags to 2-7. It is the fifth game that they have lost by 5 points or fewer, and it really follows a theme that we've seen throughout the season where the Jags have just failed to cash in on opportunities that were there for the taking. But before we get into the breakdown of the game and the fallout, let's send a shout out to our sponsor, Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game betting, Bet Online provides with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL to entertainment and political props, head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Guys, and we're back talking about another Jaguars loss, another tough loss for the Jags, and one that, look, man, it'll drive you crazy when you break down and analyze this game. It's a game where the Jaguars started slow, but the defense kept the team in the game. And then ultimately, the Jaguars had the ball going in with an opportunity to score, and they throw a critical interception that ends the game in the end zone on an interception by Nakobe Dean. And I'm going to say this, like being on the sideline for the game and watching the game and watching the reactions of the kid, the players, it is one that really knocked all the air out of the balloon. This is one where the guys were really upbeat and energetic. They fought, they hung in there. But at the end of the day, the team could not make the plays that it needed to make to win. And it wasn't just the interception where Trevor Lawrence is intending to throw the ball to Dearness Johnson in the end zone. Nakobe Dean makes a great play, but it's the defense's inability to get off the field in critical moments. It's the defense not being able to win on third and forever situations down in the red zone. It's the fumbles and the blown assignments and just the faulty execution in key moments that continues to hurt this team in these games against really, really good teams. And it's one of the things where, look, there's frustration everywhere, right? This is another game in which we go into the year talking about, man, this might be the most talented team that we've seen in Jacksonville. This is a team that certainly had playoff aspirations, potentially more than that based on who we had coming back and the optimism that was around the team based on the number of players that were re-signed, who's in place, your franchise quarterback getting a big deal, your blue chip players getting deals to tie them to the franchise for a long time. And it just hasn't gone the way that we thought that it would go. And it's one of those things that, man, you just racking your brain trying to figure out, is it personnel? Is it coaching? Is it the players' execution, whatever it is, like it hasn't gone the right way. And at 2-7, I mean, we can't even really talk about the postseason. You're really just talking about trying to get to your next win. And with a tough slate ahead, you just wonder, when is that win going to happen? Minnesota on the horizon, Detroit Lions on deck. Man, it's tough because you continue to play against the tough teams in the AFC, and we just haven't been able to kind of make that mark. But in talking about this game in particular, man, it's the same thing. It's the violation of the DBOs, the don't beat ourselves principles, where turnovers, penalties, big plays allowed, kicking game errors, all of those things showed up in this contest. And it's one that, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if you're the coaching staff. I don't know where you really start, because you can talk about it. You can preach on it. You can talk about situational awareness. You can talk about understanding exactly what your role is within the offense or the defensive scheme. But, man, players have to make plays. And we can fault the coaches, and certainly coaches are responsible for setting the plan and the play designs and those things. But it's a player's game, and your best players not only have to make plays, but sometimes your best players have to bail you out of poor play calls. And right now, man, we're not getting any of that from anyone, whether it's the coaches trying to make these last minute adjustments or the players making their own adjustments to make these plays on these calls. It's just not getting done. And people are talking about the defense and, the defense giving up big plays, but I think we got to start with the offense in this breakdown. Offensively, man, we just continue to have these slow starts where the team is behind the eight ball. You're playing uphill. I mean, you're just climbing uphill the entire game because offensively you can do anything. Nothing. I mean, against the Philadelphia Eagles, you talk about a first half where you don't have any points. You only have, like, I think 32 yards going into halftime, like something ridiculous going into halftime because you can't get first downs, you can't move it, you can't convert third downs. The running game is non-existent, passing is inconsistent, can't string together completions, and you're just at a loss. And when you are a team that is led by an offensive-minded head coach and Doug Peterson, a guy who is a brilliant play caller, even though he's not calling plays, you would like to think that the opening script, the first 15, would give you more production, and it hasn't been like that. It has been like that for weeks and weeks on end. How do you fix it? I mean, I don't know. You can talk about going up tempo. You can talk about making sure that early in the game the ball goes to the best players. But whatever it is, whatever it has been to date, it hasn't been good enough. And when I look at it, first thing we always talk about in football is players, not plays. The best offenses focus on getting the ball to the best players rather than trying to trick the defense with these creative and exotic plays. I think about Brian Thomas Jr. and how impactful he has been this season. But then this is a game where he was a non-factor for most of the game. And I would say a non-factor is one thing early in game, but late in games, got to have it drive. The ball doesn't go to number 7. To me, that's problematic. And we can talk about coverage dictates where the ball goes, and it does. But every great coach has a list of plays on the play sheet that are get the ball to whatever the designated number is. So this would be get the ball to number 7. Screens, fly sweeps, bubble passes, isolation, quick routes, anything to make sure that he gets a touch, because whenever Brian Thomas Jr. touches the ball, he has the potential to go the distance. So it's kind of crazy to me that this is a guy who goes these extended stretches without touching the ball. And it's not only that he doesn't touch the ball, but man, he's not even really drawing the targets that you would think. So Brian Thomas Jr. finishes with 2 catches, 22 yards, only has 4 targets. Meanwhile, Evan Ingram has 10 targets. And Evan Ingram should get a ton of targets because he is a guy that they viewed coming into the season as one of their best players, kind of sharing the marquee with Christian Kirk. But the fact that Brian Thomas Jr., who's been so effective, only has 4, and you talk about Austin Trammell has 3, Parker Washington has 6, there's something wrong with that. And sometimes the game gets away from you, and sometimes coverage dictates where the ball is going, but you still got to make sure that your best player on offense is touching the ball enough to have an impact on the game. The Eagles made sure to neutralize Brian Thomas Jr. by playing some double coverage, by kind of having a corner and a safety over top, limiting the big plays, making sure that as he's working against cloud coverage, he always has someone in close proximity to force tight window throws and to discourage Trevor Lawrence from throwing the ball to his number 1 receiver. Granted, you play what's there, you take the check down, you do all those other things. But when the game is on the line, I know the ball has to go to your best players. And number 7, Brian Thomas Jr. has to get more touches for this team to win. Third down, man. We just talked about third down, and everyone will tell you that third down is a money down, but also the game is built around third down situations. Ideally, on offense, you're forcing the opponent to have to defend a bunch of third and short, third and medium situations. And the reason why you want to do that is because third and short, that would be third and 3 yards or fewer, man, you can knock that out. Third and medium, anywhere from 3 to 6 yards, you still can effectively knock that out. Third and long, man, it's almost nearly impossible to be able to make plays and to get it happening. Jaguars converted 30% of their third downs against the Eagles. That is only 3 out of 10 that they converted. I mean, you talk about league average being high 30s. The fact that they only got 3 out of 10, to me, is problematic. The other thing that is problematic when it comes to those failures, I mean, the short yardage situations continue to show up where, man, it's third and short, and what should be a simple run to get the first down can't convert. Just can't get it done, no matter how much time and effort and energy devoted to these short yardage situations is coming up short repeatedly. And what it does is it not only hands the ball back to the opponent. But man, the opponent walks away with a little juice, knowing that they stopped the team when they had to stop. That to me is crazy. Now, part of the reason the Eagles had success against this offense is the injuries that continue to show up. Cooper Hodges goes down, I want to say in this third quarter, with a serious injury. You see the Aircast come out early, just really worried about it. And then Anton Harrison, to his credit, battled through a knee issue, but you wonder how healthy will he be going forward. And after trading away Cam Robinson, you're now looking at a weakened version of the offensive line that you hope to have going into this critical stretch and a situation where you're playing these must-win games. All of those things are problems, and they must be addressed because you got to play the next man up. But man, when your offensive line is different than what you anticipated, hard to win games, hard to control it. And where it really shows up is can't run the ball. So I look at this team and I look at us and I think about Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne and the possibilities that should be there. But then I look at them and they combine for 11 carries for 46 yards. Travis Etienne had 3 carries for 24 yards. Tank Bigsby 8 for 22. Just not enough touches, not enough opportunities, not enough production for a team to stay in it. And when you couple that with the fact that the opponent is moving up and down the field, you're playing from behind. How can you stay with the running game? It forces you out of those things because now you're trying to stay in the race, trying to stay in it. Team hasn't done a really good job of staying in it. Final point when it comes to the offense. There's been, it's funny because whenever we bring up Trevor, there's always this mixed reaction on how much is his fault, how much is not. Should he be shouldering more blame for the offensive issues or not? Here's what I say. The facts are the facts. 16 for 31, 169 yards, 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions was on a bobbled ball intended for Travis Etienne that he couldn't handle. Ball's picked off. Eagles kind of get going, kind of gives them a little juice, and away they go. The other one is the interception at the end of the game, which, look, man, he was in perfect position. He had the leverage. The ball could have been thrown on a back shoulder mark, but this was just a great play by Nakobe Dean winning his one-on-one coverage. Some would say, I would say, talk to Trevor and say, hey, man, why are we going there when we understand minute 42 left? We still had 3 downs left to play. We only need to get a first down. We didn't need to get a touchdown. Take your time, be patient, make good decisions, and those things. He'll learn from that. It's costly, but he'll learn from that, and hopefully he'll be better for it in these late game situations. I would say, in honesty, this team hasn't had a lot of those winning late game situations where they lead a 2-minute drive, a game-winning drive, or anything that allows him to get comfortable in that space. So from an offensive standpoint, if your quarterback, your franchise quarterback is not comfortable, hard for the rest of the offense to go. Last thing I would say, maybe a little more commitment to the run, even though you're getting knocked off the field, you can't get a first down or whatever. Some point, though, this team is built to run. You can't have your star quarterback trying to lead them back, throwing against a one-dimensional defense that is paying no attention to the run. Makes it just very, very muddy and messy when it comes to pushing the ball down the field. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. Let's talk about the defense. Now, the defense was kind of lauded in the immediate aftermath of the game. People talk about how well the defense played and, how the defense kept them in there. And the defense 100% kept the team in the game. Kept them in there, gave them a fighting chance, created a couple of turnovers. We're able to make some plays and those things. But, let's keep the facts here. 447 yards surrendered. Bananas when you think about that number. 447 surrendered, 210 passing, 237 rushing. Without having this stat sheet in front of me, I can tell you right now, if you are averaging 200 plus rushing yards per game, you're leading the league, and you're probably leading the league by a significant margin. If you're able to put up that kind of production in a game, it is rare that someone surrenders over 200 yards on the ground and they're able to win games because you never get control of the game. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated. And even though they're doing it stylistically a little different than they did a few years ago with Jalen Hurts, they've retained enough of that quarterback run game, power game, read option game to make it just tricky for opponents to kind of deal with all of the different things that they do. I would say this from a defensive standpoint. Number one thing, man, you talk about turnovers, you want to create them, want to find a way to make it happen. You talk about big plays allowed. You can't give up big plays. You talk about winning on the money down. Money down is third down, and dominating in the red zone. When I look at the Jaguars, we're just failing, right? So you got to turnover too. You've kind of figured out that part of it. But let's talk about third down efficiency. The field equals 9 out of 17. 9 out of 17. Over 50% of their third downs they're converting. Hard to win like that. You just can't win. You cannot win if you can't get off the field on money down. Here's what's more disturbing and alarming about that number. Over 50% on the conversion rate. Third and forever. So forever is like third and 15 or more. I mean, you're talking about wishing on a star, hoping a prayer, whatever you want to say in those situations, how it is. You got to get off the field. You can't allow anybody to convert on those long yardage situations. But the Jaguars are not only letting teams convert in those situations, they're letting them score touchdowns in that situation. So we talk about early, third and 15, third and 17 plus, whatever. Quick little handoff to Saquon Barkley in the red zone. He not only goes around the corner and picks up the first down, he gets a tutty. He takes it to the crib. He house calls it, which is bananas to see this dude score on a third and forever situation to give them 7 points on the board when you should be getting off the field and those things. Like, it's just not what you expect. It's not what you want in those moments. I don't even know how to explain that away, but you give that up and it's problematic. It pushed the lead out to a significant margin where it made you kind of change and kind of figure out what to do. 19-yard run on third and 17, ball on the 19, 20 seconds left going into half. Made it look like going into the end of the thing. You talk about 16-0, like just banana. 16-0 going to halftime, 2-score game because you can't get off the field. Now, to top that, because I thought that was a lot, third and 17, handed off to Barkley on the dive, and he goes and score. At the end of the game, you scratch and claw, get yourself back to a manageable deficit where you're sitting here and you're like, all right, guys, like, here's where we are. We're talking about 22-16. You're within a touchdown. You put it all the way down there. They have to go the length of the field. So they get the ball starting at the 9-yard line. They then drive 8 yards, 91 yards for a touchdown. Now, here's the thing that we've talked about. So I talked about DBOs and how you win in this league, and it's turnovers, it's penalties, it's blown assignments or big plays allowed. Well, the only way most teams can score in the National Football League, they got to get some kind of explosive play, right? So an explosive play is a pass over 20, 25 yards, a run over 15 yards to be able to do it. This drive alone, we're going to talk about 3 explosives that helped them get it. So 1st and 10 from the 9-yard line. First play, Saquon Barkley pops it 21 yards. So it like right in the shadow of their own end zone. First play pops a 21-yard run. Explosive play. Can't do that. Don't want to do that. All right, so you move it out. You get first down. You move it out. They're now sitting at the 41-yard line. Jalen Hurts drops a deep pass to Devontae Smith for 46 yards on Ron Darby. Like deep over, comes across the field, catches it, runs, brings it all the way down in the red zone. So now we talk about the ball being at the 13-yard line. Remember, this is a drive that started all the way back at the 9-yard line, and 2 explosive plays gives them a chance. So you luck out, you have an incomplete pass, you have a short pass, no gain, you have penalty, all this other stuff, right? Pushes it back. Now you're sitting at 3rd and 22. Ball's on the 25. Worst case scenario, as a defense coordinator, you think, hey, hold them to a field goal. They put 2 up on the board. It's fine. We are still in this. Everything is okay. Nope. You give up a 25-yard touchdown to Devontae Smith. Game is right there within reach, 22-16. You give up the thing, and it changes the outcome of the game. Makes it 28-16 when they fail to get the thing, but it just kind of changes the outcome. Big plays. And the frustrating thing about watching this team play is like they can play these stretches where they play pretty well on defense. They don't give up big plays. They're on it. They're tackling well. And then in the moment of truth, when the execution is demanded and required of your unit, doesn't happen. I mean, maybe the coaches can talk about it. Maybe they are also addressing situational awareness and all those things. But man, it's a problem that on third and forever, you can't get this stuff done. It is one of the issues that have plagued the Jaguars the entire season. It's one of the things that they talk about. We see in pressers. I've seen it on the practice field where they're discussing the situations, but the team just can't execute in those moments. So is that a coaching thing? Is that a playing thing? I don't know, but it's problematic because the Jaguars can't fix their issues when it comes to it. Now, not to be outdone, because I talked about the offensive flaws, the defensive flaws, and those things, but the game really turned early on a special teams error. So the Jaguars come out, man, they play exactly the way that you want to play, man. They win right away, force a quick little punt after 6 plays. They only gain 14 yards, but you force a punt. Punt goes. Austin Tremble making his debut. Understand he's a little excited. Punt returner. So the first thing that you think, hey, secure the catch. Let's take care of the ball. Offense is going to go score. Let's force the Eagles to play from behind. Austin Trammell catches it, gets hit right away. I would say Jerry Jones could have done a better job holding up the gunner. He allowed the gunner to escape, moved out the way, and the gunner made the big hit that led to the fumble. If you're Austin Trammell, you can say, hey, look and see, do you feel threatened? Make the fair catch. Number one thing that we're trying to do in this moment is secure possession of the ball. By fumbling, you not only give the Eagles another opportunity, but, man, you put them in a situation where you gift wrap them points. When we talk and look back on this season, we would say that, man, the Jaguars beat themselves time and time again. I would say that this is another game in which they beat themselves because they just couldn't take care of the business when they needed to. And the frustration is not, well, yeah, it's reaching a boiling point. I can say it's reaching a point. It is because everyone is frustrated by the losing. I saw it when I looked at the sideline when the interception happens to Kobe Dean, and you just look at the dejected faces of the Jaguars players, offense, defense, special teams. They knew, man, they let one slip through their fingers. A game that I would say this, Philadelphia was trying to give the Jaguars the game. We just couldn't take it. And I would say it's going to be one of the things that we have to continue to talk about. Why are we a team that continues to beat ourselves? Why aren't we able to take care of the ball? Why can't we reduce the number of pre-snap penalties? Why can't we continue to, why can't we avoid blowing assignments by knowing what to do, by following AAA, alignment, assignment, adjustment, and being on point? You know, that's the thing. And when you look back and you think about the DBOs and you combine that with 5 losses by 5 points or fewer, you now understand why the Jaguars are frustrated sitting at 2-7 when they should have a record that is much better than that. But as Bill Parcells would say, you are what your record is. And right now the Jaguars are a 2-7 team with the hopes and dreams flickering on the 2024 season. So that's the podcast. That's my breakdown. Just a lot of frustration in terms of like what we've been unable to do despite having the talent to do it. It is what it is. Sitting at 2-7, big game against the Minnesota Vikings on the horizon. We'll start talking about that on the next podcast. Make sure you continue to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Trying to do a bunch of cool things when it comes to Bleav Network and what we're doing. Make sure you check out all the latest content on Fubo, on YouTube. See all of the different things that my colleagues are doing as they represent their own respective squads. And then continue to come back here. Like, look, it hasn't been the season that we hoped for, but we're continuing to grow and grow together. I want to continue to give you the latest information and analysis, the best that I can give you so that you can feel good about whatever it is that's going on with our team. So make sure you check us out next time. This is Bleav in Jaguars. I'm Bucky Brooks. We'll talk to you next time.